Cynthia Dill Live. Welcome to Cynthia Dill Live from beautiful Cape Elizabeth, Maine. And joining me today is Mary Ann Lynch. Welcome to the show, Mary Ann.
Good morning, Cynthia. Nice to be here.
Well, it's great to have you here. And I do want to talk to you mostly about the sizzling local political issue, the school bond. But before that, I want to hear a little bit about your new relationship. And of course, I mean Costco. Have you fallen in love with Costco?
Who has not fallen in love with Costco?
Well, I
My
haven't been.
goodness, gas prices $2.89, $6 for a big bag of avocados. I could go on, but
Hey, Marianne, I think, is it possible for you to either sit a little closer to the mic or, yeah, there we go.
is that better?
I think that I'm hoping
No.
everybody can hear you loud and
Okay.
clear.
Feel like that.
And what is the membership cost at Costco?
$60.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
really interesting. There's a good article in the Wall Street Journal today that I didn't know what the business model was. I guess that's how they make most of their money is through the
Yeah,
membership
I
fees.
know. Interesting. But
Yeah, and what is it like?
great
What is the
product.
experience like when you're in there?
It's really like a warehouse. They've got a lot of great products. They've got a lot of organic products, a lot of products that I generally find in Whole Foods, but
Oh, really?
a lot less money.
Oh, that's interesting. And do you
Yeah.
have to buy gigantic quantities?
Sometimes you do. Obviously, it's just my husband and I, so we buy a half year of toilet paper at a time over there. But yeah, it's great. I love it.
Well, Yankee frugality is a good segue into the next topic, which is the $94.7 million school bond that's on the Cape ballot. And you are the treasurer of a new group called Cape Voters. Why
That's
on earth are
correct.
you diving into this issue? And why are you the treasurer of Cape Voters?
Well, I'm the treasurer of Cape Voters because state law now requires that even in small little towns like Cape Elizabeth, a voluntary group of citizens taking a position on a referendum needs to file a ballot question committee with the state. So we did that. Jim Walsh, who is a former town councilor and former town council chair, agreed to be president of Cape Voters, and I volunteered to be the treasurer, which means I get to do all the filings and things
Well,
like
and
that.
your name is on all the signs.
Yes.
So is Cape Voters kind of a repeat of the organization that was known as the Neighbors Alliance, Cape Neighbors Alliance?
No, there is no relationship at all. I'm actually glad you brought that up. Personally, I have never been concerned or afraid about putting my name out or attaching it. And I am not a part of Cape Neighbors Alliance. I agree maybe with some of the things they've printed and disagree with other things. So I just want to be really clear. We are two very separate organizations.
And
And I don't know anything else about them other than what I read in the Cape Courier, just like everyone else in town.
Is the main focus and the purpose of Cape Voters solely the school bond issue? Or are you also endorsing candidates and taking on other issues? Because there are other state bonds on the
Yeah.
ballot. Are you interested in any of those?
No, our main focus, and really it's also a function of state law. We have formed this ballot question committee, BQC, specifically for the purpose of weighing in and sharing our views on the Cape Elizabeth school bond ballot question. So that is the sum total of what Cape Voters is about.
And you have in your ad, which I want to talk about, you've said it's question one, and is what you mean by that it's question one on the municipal ballot?
Yes, it is. Not to be confused with question one on the state ballot. And I have seen some signs in Cape Elizabeth this week on question one on the state ballot.
There's a lot of bonds on the ballot.
Yes.
Like people are feeling a little bit tight because of the recent revaluation and just doing their taxes. It's going to be interesting to see how the bond questions fare. So let's get right to the meat of it. The question is, do you support well, what is the question as you understand it?
Okay, well, the question is, do you support a bond for 94 point whatever $7 million to build a new school, a new middle school in Cape Elizabeth. That's basically the abbreviated version of
And
the
the
question.
view, yeah, and the view of your group and you personally is no.
And the view of our group is no, that we can do much, much better than that. Um,
Well, 94.7 million is the bond amount, but the information that you're providing publicly is that actually isn't the true cost, that there are other costs, this essentially $10 million that's going to be baked into the capital improvement budget over time.
that's
That
correct.
is kind of like an undisclosed tax almost. When all is said and done, how much is this proposal on the ballot going to cost taxpayers according to your numbers?
When all is said and done, the project will be $104 million. And yes, they've left almost $10 million to be paid for through the operating budget over the next few years. And sadly, it is for really critical needs in the high school and the elementary school. There's no way that the current school board can bind a future school board or a future council. It was, I think, just a disingenuous way to keep the bond below $100 million.
What are people, who are going into the polls, who care deeply about kids and education and want to do the right thing? Uh, what are they supposed to think is going to happen if they vote no? I mean, what is the answer if we defeat this bond
Yeah.
question? Is there any answer out there that's, we can
So
have
yeah,
hope?
Cape Elizabeth people are very supportive of education. They always have been. My children, all adults now, have attended the Cape schools. I have grandchildren in the Cape schools. I think everyone in town is concerned with education, and I think everyone in town is rightly concerned about the investments that need to be done in the three buildings. One of the major problems with the option that we are voting on is that it leaves the other two schools behind. Just to back up a little bit, as many people know, the school board, after the defeat of the last bond referendum, said we should have a citizen committee, we should study this issue. They created, along with the town council, the school board advisory committee. That committee worked for 18 months. It studied the issues in all three schools. That committee's majority voted for a $77 million option. Still a huge
I know.
investment
Not like that's a cheap option.
for a town this size. An investment that I and many other people would have readily endorsed and readily would have used all of the resources that we are using to vote no, we would have used to vote yes on option B. I think what's interesting, and I hope that people in Cape Elizabeth remember this, is that when the school board summarily rejected option B, they were able to, within 20 days, meet and come up with their proposal. So we know the school board can act quickly. And it would be my hope that the people of Cape Elizabeth will vote no, keeping in mind that option B is not only less expensive, but for a variety of reasons was also the better option. Um, Mike Hussey, who was a member of the School Building Advisory Committee, and I had never met Mike until he served on that committee, but boy, was I impressed with him. He's a young father of 5 children, several in the Cape elementary and middle schools. And Mike did
Brilliant wife.
brilliant wife, yes. And Mike did a position paper back in May on why option B was superior to the new school option. And I hope that everyone in Cape Elizabeth has a chance to read that.
So what do you think is driving this effort? I mean, there's just a full-throated effort on the part of the school department. I mean, your group is really up against the Cape Elizabeth School Department, and I want to talk about that a little bit. I mean, your advocacy is certainly strong. You've put out ads in the Cape Courier. You have your signs out, but the pro the yes question not only has the advocacy group that is spearheaded by Elizabeth Bierman, but they also have the school board doing a lot of advocacy. So do you think that your message is going to get out, or how are you feeling? I mean, you mentioned the earlier bond in 2022 that was soundly rejected by voters. That was for 116 million, and this is close to 100. I'm just, where are you
Yes, and
feeling? How are you feeling about the campaign?
it's only when you think that the last project was 116 and this project is 104. That's basically only a 10% reduction. What's absolutely amazing is that, and sad, I think, that the school board missed an incredible opportunity with option B to bring the town together. Um,
Yeah.
$77 million, again, a huge investment. It would have been probably in the area of a 9% tax increase. No small hill to climb in this environment with the revaluation. And they just missed a great opportunity to pull the town together and a great opportunity to address the critical needs in all three schools.
So
Instead,
what do you think is driving all this? What's driving this? Is it personal politics?
I
Is it what's going on here in your
I can't put myself into the minds of other people. I just know that a committee was created that worked very hard. People like Larry Benoit, Mike Hussey, the two town councilors on the SBAC also voted for option B. So that sometimes gets lost in the noise. So I don't know what is driving it. From my perspective, new is not always better. And this is also a great opportunity to show our children and our grandchildren that you can reuse
Yeah.
existing buildings.
Well, I mean, anyone who travels around New England knows that buildings last more than 20 or 30 years. I mean, you just have to walk, up Beacon Hill.
And
Um,
one thing I also want to mention, Cynthia, is that about 50,000 square feet of what will be demolished in the middle school was only built in 1994. There's a lot of life left
well, the kindergarten
in
was,
that. And the kindergarten was, I think,
Mary Townsend.
2004, 2005. That's right. You and I think, were on the council when that project was approved and completed. So, yeah.
Well, the thing that is really, I think, important for people to understand is that this new school is not a minimally designed project. It's essentially like the Taj Mahal to a certain extent, like a lot of space, extra space, and you've put in, information out there that is really helpful to understand. What is, for example, the square footage per student that is generally recommended, and how does that
Oh,
compare with what we have now and what this new proposal would give us
yeah,
for?
that's another great question. And I think it shows that this new building is oversized by any measure. The state guidelines for middle school construction are 160 square feet per pupil. Now, I want to be clear that those guidelines have been exceeded, but Harriman testified during the SBAC process that the middle school averages were about 190 square foot per student. We are building a building that is 247 or 248 square feet per pupil. What is almost incomprehensible is that on a per pupil basis, this building is even larger than the building that was rejected 2 years ago.
It's just stunning to me that it's thought to be either economically or environmentally a good idea. In terms of the environment, has there been any studies about what the carbon footprint would be of this new project versus renovating the existing buildings? Do we know anything about that?
Well, I don't think there's been a study of this specific building, but there's been a lot of work done that at least suggests that the conclusion is that the greenest building you can have is the building that you were already in, not going out and building to reclaim, to offset the carbon footprint of this new school will be about 80 years. It's just really takes quite a toll on the environment, the price of new construction. And when I say price, I mean the environmental price.
Well, and
And then we
also,
have other issues too that we haven't even talked about. The school, the new school, which is very sprawling, will eliminate about an acre of green space, including 2 fields. It will, those 2 fields will be replaced by one smaller non-regulation size field. So the alternative that has been suggested, but neither planned nor funded for, is more fields at Goldcrest, which means, of course, more bus rides
right.
to get our teams over to Goldcrest. So it is not only not environmentally responsible as a building proposition, it's also not environmentally responsible in terms of the long-term use as we're
Well,
going forward.
in terms, in addition of the things you've already mentioned, in doing this cost benefit analysis, one of the costs is obviously going to be the tax increase, which I want you to address. But in terms of the benefit, like assuming we were weighing the costs and the benefit, what do we know about the benefits to kids that this new project would offer? Like, is there any link between this new building and somehow increasing the productivity or the scores or the happiness or the health of the students?
I'm not an expert on that, Cynthia, but I will tell you I am concerned when I see anecdotal evidence like Cape Elizabeth High School falling from second or third in the state in US News and World Reports to 17th. I think we have had a leadership that has been solely focused on buildings and not what's going on inside the classrooms.
Did the new project, but when this SBAC was doing their work, did they, I mean, was the goal to increase like the the quality of life for students? I'm still I'm trying to find
Yeah.
out what is going to be good for students and all of this, but let's talk about the cost, the dollars and cents. The signs that you have published as treasurer in your group say that the tax increase, if this question 1 on the municipal ballot in Cape Elizabeth passes for the $94.7 million bond for the new school, if it passes, your signs say that the taxes are going to increase in excess of 12%. Now, how did you, why should we believe you about that?
Well, you don't have to believe me. This is information that has come from the town manager. And in fact, the town manager's most recent tax tables show that the tax increase will be 12.57%, not the 12.2% that's been advertised by the school board.
12.75?
57,
12.
12.57. And that is information from the town manager with the tax tables that were put out after the tax rate was set in August. So
And
no one has to believe me. All of our information is coming from the town or the school department.
Is the 12.57 increase just on the $94.7 million
Yes,
bond?
it is.
Okay,
It
so it
is
doesn't
not.
take into account.
It does not take into account the additional 9.7 million that really needs to take place to address those critical needs in the other schools.
Now, what are you hearing from people in town who have just opened their tax bills? Are you hearing any people who thought that they were all in, maybe now, wondering if they can afford it? Or what's the response been since the tax bills have come out?
Well, I think the tax bills have only come out in the last, I think I got mine on Thursday. So I haven't really had a chance to talk to people about it.
Mhm.
But I would go back to 2 public opinion surveys that the SBAC did during their work to determine the community's level of tolerance for tax increase. And I think it was pretty well established that The majority of people in town felt that the tax increase to support improvements at the school would need to fall in the 5 to 10% range, less than 10%. And that's why I say even 77 would have been a huge investment. It's
A big
just
lift.
unimaginable that it was so summarily dismissed when it was such a serious and good proposal.
So the town council race, there's 3 positions available, 6 candidates. It seems to be split down the middle with 3 voting yes, 3 voting no on this bond question. Do you think that that's going to be the issue that drives the town council election?
I think it will be.
And is your group, or well, you've said that you
No,
can't legally
we
because
cannot endorse, we have not endorsed, we will not be getting involved in those races at all.
if you had to, and I know you could because you're an experienced lawyer and politician, if you had to give what you think is the best argument on the other side, since anyone from the other side hasn't been willing yet to step up and defend their position here on the show, but I hope that that changes. But if you had to put the best spin on what their case is, what would you say it is?
You know, I can't really do that, Cynthia, because I think that their proposal falls so far short in so many ways. It's not just a question of what is more expensive. It's also a question of what would have been the better alternative. So I can't, for the life of me, come up with a spin that makes $104 million project, which leaves behind the middle school, leaves behind Pond Cove and the high school, a positive for the community.
And I'm not convinced that the need for more natural light has to be addressed by a $100 million bond. It's like we live in one of the most beautiful communities in the world, and if people need more natural light, go outside.
Well, you know, I've walked through those schools for many, many years. Can I show you a closet or a hallway without some natural light? Sure. But every single classroom
Right.
has lots of light and
Or
window.
or that the 4th
Um,
graders have to walk too far. I mean, when I had a 4th grader, it's just run around the house just to tire them out. I can't
you know,
imagine building a new
exactly.
building, so
You
4th graders
really
don't have to walk.
want kids to be able to blow off a little steam. So, yeah, no, and the idea that we are just going to tear up good playing fields, have an additional cafeteria. Again, option B had 2 cafeterias and 1 kitchen. The proposal now would have a building on the other side of the campus with another kitchen. It's hard to believe that a second kitchen in a separate building will be able to be staffed with the same number of employees.
Or that it's efficient.
That's right.
Do you think I don't think that the superintendent for the town of Cape Elizabeth can survive after 2 serious bond defeats. What do you think? I mean, if the bond goes down in flames, are we gonna get a new superintendent?
I don't want to comment on that. That is entirely up to the school board.
Is there anything else you'd like to share with viewers? I mean, I'd love to have you back on the show, but heading into next week, there's a couple weeks left
Yeah,
for the election.
I would just say that the town council has studied this issue and has recommended voting no. The SBAC, the School Building Advisory Committee, studied this issue for 18 months and did not recommend this proposal, came up with a proposal that was quite a bit less, but addressed problems and critical needs in all 3 schools. So I think we have an alternative that is less expensive, but is actually a better proposal for the kids, for the teachers. And I hope that Cape Elizabeth voters will show their good sense, as they almost always do.
If voters want more information, where should they go to get more information about your group?
Well, we have a very minimal website, capevoters.com, or Gmail us at capevoters@gmail.com, and keep an eye out in the Cape Courier. We will have another ad in the next issue. So
Well, Mary Ann Lynch, thank you very much for joining
Thank you.
Blue Deal Live.
Bye.
Enjoy your weekend. Take care.